In New York today, 1,200 police agents launched what a district attorney called the biggest crackdown on organized crime in the nation's history. 677 subpoenas were issued for men and women linked to the 5 mafia families that operate in the metropolitan area. A year of investigation preceded today's action. ABC's Bill Brannigan has the story.
The bulk of the evidence for today's massive wave of subpoenas was gathered, we were told, at this junkyard in South Brooklyn, which served as sort of a clearinghouse for members of organized crime. This trailer, officials say, was the meeting place, and for more than 6 months it was kept under tight surveillance. 36,000 feet of motion picture film were exposed, and 54,000 still photographs were taken. An electronic bug concealed inside the trailer yielded up more than 2,500 hours of tape recordings. Newsmen were taken to the junkyard by Kings County District Attorney Eugene Gold, who described some of the surveillance procedures.
How sophisticated a device is it, sir, and how sensitive is it?
It's sophisticated enough that there would be conversations that took place over it could be overheard at least a half-mile away. And this is a power pack, this is a transmitter, and this was the microphone, a very tiny device, which conveyed the conversations that we were listening to.
So anything that was said in this trailer was overheard by your men?
Oh, yes, since last April.
There are some paid telephones in the trailer here. Were they bugged also?
Well, the only thing I can tell you is that we had wiretaps with court authorization on 3 telephones at various times in this trailer.
And that would include the paid telephones?
That would include whatever telephone was in the premises at the time that the wiretap was put in.
The trailer was being stripped of its eavesdropping equipment and records, even as police were serving subpoenas throughout an 8-county area. The names of those subpoenaed were not immediately disclosed. Officials did say they may call more than 1,000 people to testify before the grand jury, and that it may take as long as 6 months to complete testimony before any indictments are handed up. This is Bill Brannigan, ABC News, New York.
Turned out to be the most massive investigation of organized crime in the history of law enforcement in this country. We have pierced the veil of all of the 5 organized crime groups in the city of New York. We broke their summit headquarters by having a bug placed where they met last April, which has been functioning since that time. The bug was located in a trailer, a junkyard automobile lot located on Avenue D in Brooklyn. The trailer was 40 by 15 feet. It was ringed by a 14-foot fence with barbed wire at the top, guarded by 2 vicious German shepherds, as well as an individual who watched it through the night. The surveillance of the yard included the taking of color movies, more than 36,000 feet of color movies, 54,000 still photographs, 1,620,000 feet of tape from the electronic bug, and 21,600 feet of tape from wiretaps. This is the trailer which was the summit meeting place of the organized crime figures throughout New York City, Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, and Rockland counties.
Watch yourself.
Here's the bug.
Watch it. Watch it.
How did you get it in here?
Mr. Gold, how did you get it in here?
No comment. That was quite a task.
Could you have gotten these subpoenas issued without the use of this bug and electronic
Without the
surveillance?
use of this bug, this investigation couldn't have gone nearly as far as we did.
Mr. Gold, I spoke to several people here who say they just walked in either to buy parts or they're innocent bystanders. One fellow said he came here to collect the soda bill, and he's been subpoenaed. What's going on?
Well, the answer is let him testify to that before the grand jury.
The bulk of the evidence for today's massive wave of subpoenas was gathered, we were told, at this junkyard in South Brooklyn, which served as sort of a clearinghouse for members of organized crime.
Okay.
Whenever
I'm
you're
sorry
ready.
about that.
Show me what you want.
Hey, Elliot, you got the battery?
Yeah, we're all set. Let's go, fellas.
How's that? Is that okay for you?
You're good. Okay. I'll tell you when to go. Okay, let's go. Okay, speed.
Mr. Gold, please.
Approximately 1 year ago, my office, through my Rackets Bureau, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Organized Crime Control Bureau of the Police Department, under the leadership of Commissioner McCarthy, began an investigation into organized crime. This has turned out to be the most massive investigation of organized crime in the history of law enforcement in this country. We have pierced the veil of all of the 5 organized crime groups in the city of New York. This morning at 4 o'clock, 1,200 policemen assembled at 12 different locations for the purpose of serving subpoenas on 677 organized crime figures. Included in that group were the top of the organized crime people throughout the city of New York, Rockland, Westchester, Nassau, and Suffolk counties, in addition to other members of organized crime. We broke their summit headquarters by having a bug placed where they met last April, which has been functioning since that time. The bug was located in a trailer, a junkyard automobile lot located on Avenue D in Brooklyn. The trailer was 40 by 15 feet. It was ringed by a 14-foot fence with barbed wire at the top, guarded by 2 vicious German shepherds, as well as an individual who watched it through the night. This investigation was handled 24 hours a day for the past year. The surveillance of the yard included the taking of color movies, more than 36,000 feet of color movies, 54,000 still photographs, 1,620,000 feet of tape from the electronic bug, and 21,600 feet of tape from wiretaps. Grand jury subpoenas have been served this morning, and this will be a massive investigation which will reveal the extensive activities of organized crime throughout this city of New York. Off to my left is a chart which indicates some of the criminal activities in which these people are engaged. And this is information which we have obtained as a result of the investigation that was done during this past year. And you'll notice it runs the full gamut of crime committed anywhere in America.
Mr. Gold, who were some of the top people that were served with subpoenas?
At this time, because of the depth and scope of this investigation, I'm not at liberty to reveal the names of those who've been subpoenaed, but you can be sure that in the very near future there'll be additional, what I believe, sensational announcements.
These across all of the 5 major families here in New York.
That's correct. Every one of the major families in New York City, all 5.
Yet you're speaking of one location. Is there an implication here that all 5 families were united in one operation or one center?
This indicates to us very clearly that each one of these families are interlocked. And this was the summit headquarters where they met.
What was going on at these headquarters?
Things were plotted. You've got evidence of that on your tape, I assume?
We have evidence which will indicate that the crimes that are listed on that chart that I referred to a moment ago are clearly spelled out.
How high up in the crime families will these subpoenas go?
The subpoenas have already been served on as high members of organized crime as ever before in the history of law enforcement.
Why did you decide to end the surveillance now and announce these subpoenas?
Well, we had reached the point where we believed we could not go very much further with what we had. We had, as I say, 677 organized crime figures. All of the top members of organized crime had already been in the trailer, and there was an incident that took place on Saturday, this past Saturday, which led us to believe that now is the time to wind up this investigation, and that will be the subject matter of a future press conference.
When you say the incident took place, was that incident related to...
I don't think there's very much doubt about it. I am told by those in law enforcement that this is the most massive organized crime investigation in the history of the law.
What inspired it?
What inspired it was a desire on the part of this office, Commissioner McCarthy, and the FBI to do something which was on a massive scale with organized crime. And I'm very grateful for their cooperation, and I can't possibly express to you the depth of feeling that I have for the chief of my rackets bureau, Joe Hines.
Did it start with a tip?
No, it did not.
You say you've pierced the veil, sir. You say you've pierced the veil. That can mean that either one, you have undercover agents in the crime families, or you have information coming directly from the crime families. You might have undercover agents in each one of the crime families.
I will not discount the fact that we did have an undercover agent functioning during this investigation. Pardon?
Do you have another Valachi?
I have no comment on that.
Mr. Gold, can you tell us a little bit about the junkyard and what went on inside of it?
Well, the junkyard was used as the meeting place. The meeting place was actually in the trailer. There were telephones in there. We had a bug inside the trailer. Various people from organized crime would meet there on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, every one of the individuals who have been subpoenaed has been seen and is on film going into that trailer.
Could this be called a sort of corporate meeting room? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're labeling it as the summit place of the mob.
Does it look like an ordinary junkyard?
Down there. What's the purpose of that, and what will happen when we get there?
What will happen is that you'll be able to physically see it, and I believe you'll see some other things that I haven't discussed yet this morning in detail.
How far out did this operation reach,
To hold this press conference this morning and announce the subpoenas, what happened over the weekend?
Well, that's something that will be revealed at a later time, hopefully within the next 10 days.
Mr. Gold, how far-reaching was this operation that you discovered in Brooklyn?
Far-reaching in what sense?
It extended outside of Brooklyn, I understand. How far?
Well, extended to every one of the counties in New York City, in addition to Westchester, Nassau, and Suffolk. Subpoenas have been served in every one of the counties I've just mentioned, 8 counties.
Could you put a dollar figure on the kind of business that was conducted from the trailer?
Not at this time.
Can you tell us how, with 2 German shepherds and a watchdog, you were able to take these films?
Carlo Gambino at the present moment is hospitalized, and I understand that his condition is rather poor.
Who is the biggest name that you've subpoenaed today?
I would hope to have no comment on names at this time, except to tell you that the top people in organized crime have been subpoenaed before the grand jury.
Will there be a list available later today?
Well, that's something I'm not in a position to judge at this moment. I'm not in a position to judge that
Mr.
now.
Gold, are there any law enforcement people, judges, or district attorneys